All right, thank you for staying with us on Daybreak. As I mentioned earlier, I'm joined by Dr. Hassan Kanenje, Horn Institute, and I'm joined by Dr. Sylvia Wakene Muriuki, International Relations and Diplomacy Analyst, and the Member of Parliament for Kamkunji, who is also a member of the Defense Committee, Yusuf Hassan. Good to have the three of you here. We're expecting shortly Evans Ogada, an advocate. So if you're wondering where he will be here shortly. He is on his way. So we'll start with the newspaper review. Okay, Dr. Kanenje, that smile. Yes. That means it's a good morning, I hope.
It is, I must say, yes.
Great. So one of the big stories in the dailies and has been there for the last couple of weeks is Chan. So when you look at the Standard, front page, Chan hosting rights in jeopardy after security breaches, ticket mess, ticket chaos and political meddling are threatening Kenya's Chan 2024 quarter-final hosting rights as politicians flaunt stacks of tickets and fans storm gates. The FKA and the local organizing committee are in the dock. If you look at the Daily Nation, inside Chan tickets scandal with Kenya punished for security breaches during marches involving Harambee Stars. At the ongoing continental tournament, the nation has established that only a fraction of tickets are available for sale to Kenyan fans, fueling the chaos. So if you look at the back page of your Nation, I just want to highlight a couple of paragraphs so that you can weigh in. So it reads that it has emerged that the sale of physical tickets was prohibited from the outset, yet some people were selling or buying physical tickets. We are not supposed to provide any physical tickets. CAF only requested advance electronic tickets, and that is what we gave them. Said our source at MOOC, and MOOC are the people who are selling these tickets online. What has been happening is that some people have been buying valid tickets in bulk and then printing them after scanning the QR code. And after that, they sell the printouts at a higher price. Musonye corroborated the MOOC employee statement, but explained that the physical tickets that some politicians, including Korogosho Member of Parliament Absalom Odhiambo, were parading on social media might have been part of the complimentary tickets that were printed at the local level. What happened is that we bought the complimentary tickets and printed them out, but there were a bit too many. Those are the ones some politicians might have been giving out. At the stadium, during the Kenya versus Morocco game, ticket touts were selling printed tickets for as much as 2,000 shillings. And finally, staff at MOOC also lamented about police laxity, saying that when they reported the matter to the police, they received bribes and turned a blind eye as the illegal sale of tickets continued. We even alerted the police when we saw the people selling tickets at the stadium, but they confronted the ticket touts and turned a blind eye after receiving a bribe of 200 shillings. So what do we do? So CAF is, the Chan is a big tournament. So first of all, Dr. Kanenje, what has it meant for the nation, the region's image, the tournament itself, before we get into the ticketing issue?
First of all, good morning, Kenyans. This has been huge. I think since 1987, we haven't seen, something of this magnitude, especially when it comes to, soccer, for instance. And I must laud our boys for actually doing us proud in the last couple of days. The few millions they are pocketing, I think they are well-deserved and they're well-earned, and we should continue that. But, our principle and culture demands that you put your best foot forward when you're having guests in the house. And I think this is a case of us sometimes behaving badly. There are people who are responsible for the kind of mess, if in fact is true. And I think action needs to be taken and needs to be seen to actually be taken. Because not only is it sullying our image in the region, it's sullying our image internationally at a time when there's a spotlight on East Africa and especially, Kenya. I think it's important to understand that Kenya takes a lot of pride in its image. Part of its foreign policy is to try and enhance that image because it allows us to actually be successful, at other levels in terms of international diplomacy. And even when we want to make a beat again, let's say in hosting the Olympics at some point, if we cannot be able to get this right, I think it's going to be challenging. Thus far, there are a number of things that have gone well. We appreciate the fact that, they stayed here, at least were well taken care of, and there are not many complaints. And by and large, people have behaved well, especially majority of the Kenyans. But I think to the extent that this ticketing mess, in a way that it becomes an international environment, I think it's important for us to understand that if something like this happened in Gabon, and I don't mean to say in a pejorative way, perhaps no one will know. But there are more international media bureaus in Kenya than in any country in Africa. And so we have to be cognizant of to be alive to the fact that any match that takes place here, even the Kiwis are going to know about it in New Zealand. And so how we manage this, there are some messes that have taken place. And I think if action is taken expeditiously, we're going to be able to arrest the situation. But if we don't, I think we're going to leave a sour taste in the mouth of some of the people, especially football fans, and football being the most popular sport pretty much on earth. I think we have something to do.
All right. So, like you're talking about the nation's image, Kenya's image has really been bolstered by our athletes. Our football has been plagued by some issues, but this is a time when some of us have discovered that the goalkeeper of Harambee Stars, I don't follow much football, is called Brian Omondi, that there is an Alpha, that there is Austin Odhiambo, that there is a Ryan Ogam. So it's really, like as Dr. Kanenje said, it has spotlighted football in the country, and it's a chance. The Harambee Stars are playing their hearts out on the field. But then again, you have this other side, people who are looking to cash in illegally on what should ideally be a time of a positive for the nation. Mheshimiwa, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think it has been a great moment for us, and a moment of excitement, a moment of coming together as a country. Football is a unifying force. Our players have done a fantastic job. They have played beautiful football. And the country is in a very good mood at the moment. So I think it is very positive, very good for us. And I think the Kenyan Football Federation has done an excellent job. I think they need to be congratulated. Everybody has done extremely well. But of course, there are things out there in the street which reflect some of the negative cultural manifestations that we have in this country. But selling tickets illegally is a practice in football all over the world. And even if you go to the Premier League, people buy tickets out there. And I think this is a learning curve. We should learn from the mistakes. We should introduce more strict regulations to make sure that, in fact, this doesn't impact us negatively as a country and deny us future opportunities for hosting tournaments. So it's up to the authorities now, the police and everybody else, to do a good post-mortem and make sure that those things don't happen. And we make sure that the crowd control is improved. People who want to sell tickets are apprehended and their jobs made more difficult. But overall, I think it has been a fantastic week for Kenya. Beautiful, beautiful.
All right. Dr. Wakene, so the authorities have said if you don't have an e-ticket, then please don't turn up at Kasarani. And they've also, CAF has also said the number 6, I think the sitting capacity has been reduced. Those who will be allowed to access the stadium by to about 60%, right? But there's this excitement. You see people jumping over barricades. What happened on Sunday. They want to witness these matches for themselves. How do you contain that sort of enthusiasm?
First is to say that it's really been a fantastic moment for us, really, and an honor to be able to host CHAN. And it is a learning curve, as my colleagues have said, and there should have been better preparations. If the requirements are for e-ticketing, that should have been done so that we can be able to manage and even have the accountability, because when these tickets are bought and sold, the issue of accountability again becomes a challenge. So it is important that as going forward, even as the they have been given conditions for us in this sports diplomacy, that we see how we can continue to really ensure that we don't lose this going forward, especially for the sake of the future, just like we have done very well in other areas. So in this, we cannot really afford to mess at this moment, and it is important that we try to stick to the rules. Otherwise, when when they impose on us these conditionalities and we don't follow through, it can be very detrimental for the future. So we really need to see to it that we are there to the requirements that have been put into place, and to manage the crowd, especially if the requirement is half of the stadia. I want to believe that it is possible to renegotiate this because, as you have said, there is a lot of enthusiasm from our fans, and we have waited for this for so long. And for this reason, we want to ask the relevant bodies to renegotiate this, because it is really a momentous moment for us as a country.
And of course, it depends on how well we behave during the tournament on Sunday. Kenya versus Zambia. I know we're looking to make it to the quarterfinals. Dr. Kanenje, is there such a thing as sports diplomacy?
Absolutely. Kenya takes pride in its sportsmen and women. We're one of the athletic giants in the world, actually one of the top athletic giants. In fact, anytime you have just pure athletic championships, many a time we've always been among the top 5. On occasion, we've been among the top 3, internationally, in terms of the medals that we actually collect from championships. And so we take a lot of pride. They've put our map out there and our flag out there. Even when sometimes we're not agreeing at home or things have gotten a little bit messy, then you hear the news of a Kenyan winning the Boston Marathon, London Marathon. Just rally together. And all of us, of course. And, and of course, not forgetting others, in athletics, like Odumbe, really took our flag out there. And, in 2008, you remember one of our Kenyans, broke Michael Phelps' world record in swimming, which lasted only a few minutes. However, this is something as huge. And, you can be a small country like Jamaica, for instance, but what do we know more about Jamaica is athletics and reggae, you understand? And because of the athletes, they put you on the map out there. And the same is true with some countries that we would never have known anything about. And so this is absolutely huge. But also, it has been used in conflict management, conflict resolution. You remember Didier Drogba, at the height of the conflict in Cote d'Ivoire, when he actually called on the parties, not to fight. So, because Cote d'Ivoire was actually playing there internationally. And they were able to have the guns go silent. So this is something that has been used. The reason why George Weah became president, a lot of it had to do with admiration that Liberians had about him, as a sports person. But it also allowed him a lot of influence around the world because a lot of people had looked up to him through sport, you see. And he's able to connect with that. And so Kenya, in terms of sports diplomacy, is actually up there, perhaps one of the most uncontestable. And something that is not even disputed by any Kenyan, that this is something we need to be able to take care of. I think going further, when it comes to our relation with other countries, countries have been busy poaching Kenyan athletes, Now, while we may complain sometimes it does not feel good, eventually we end up beating them anyway, you see. But the fact that they are there, they also help highlight some of the good things about Kenya, whether it's Kip Keter when he was in the other countries or the guys who are going to the Middle East. There is something that they're actually going to share about Kenya, that people start looking at Kenya differently. It makes them want to invest in Kenya. It makes them want to get in Kenya because there is something about sport that unites all of us. And it's something many people don't really fight over. Now, I think one of perhaps some of the sad moments, sometimes, especially in sport diplomacy, sometimes it works for better, sometimes it works for worse, is sport has also been used in terms of forcing countries to behave well. For instance, we sanctioned South Africa from participating in critical sports because of apartheid. Today, yeah, exactly, you understand? Now, we have to know how to use it because sometimes we actually punish, people and athletes who are deserving. I've always made an argument that I think between 1967 and maybe around 2012, the only time Kenya did not win a gold medal in Olympic steeplechase was in 1980. Why? Because we boycotted the Olympic Games in Moscow in solidarity with other Western powers following the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. And I think we need to compensate those athletes who are supposed to go to Moscow. So yes, it's a tool of diplomacy.
Okay. All right. Lastly, on this subject, because I know I'd like to get quickly your reflections on devolution. Heshimiwa, is this a Kenyan cultural issue? Are we seeing similar sanctions in Uganda, Tanzania? Is it that we're just an indisciplined people?
Well, yeah, we're quite different. We haven't had we haven't had the opportunity to host major soccer events of this kind. I think even although I'm quite advanced in terms of age and have been here for so many years, I cannot remember any opportunity where we had a major sports events of this kind, an African championship. So this is the first time. I think some of these countries may have had experiences in doing that, but also temperamentally and culturally, I think Kenya is much more aggressive. Kenyans are much more aggressive in business, in politics, in every field. And in this particular case, we have entrepreneurs who are taking advantage of this opportunity to make a fast buck. And they don't realize that, in fact, they are damaging the business that may benefit them in the long run because there are rules and regulations. But if you go to Tanzania, for example, and I have been to Tanzania for a sports event between Yanga and Simba, you wouldn't have anyone pushing or shoving. You can go with children. You feel completely safe in attending those events. South Africa is the same way I have lived. And over time, there have been regulations, civic education to streamline that. For example, I've lived in the UK many years, and there was a period when British soccer suffered from soccer hooliganism, the drinking, troublesome, and in order to build their Premier League, they have been able to introduce very stringent rules, mostly focusing on the clubs. So I think in this particular case, after the CHAN, maybe what the Federation and all the people involved must do is to come together and make sure that, in fact, we put some discipline on the part in the part of staging these tournaments, because after all, the crowd would have been easily controlled if all the systems were working very well. In this particular case, there have been some problems, not surprising given the fact that there are teething problems in organizing many big events of this kind. But I think there must be lessons learned and the necessary corrections made, and maybe take our citizens along to make sure that they don't. I think they're happy to have these big events. They're very excited. They love soccer. And also they must make sure that, in fact, we are able to bring the big teams here. We're able to host the big tournaments here so that we can all both enjoy, all of us can enjoy, and our country can benefit, and we can get the exposure that we need. And I just wanted to add a final bit on the importance of cultural and sports diplomacy. And in fact, in international relations, there's the concept of hardware and software. And countries that do not have the military and economic power to compete globally usually showcase their cultural and sports prowess to show the world what they have. And in the case of athletics, even when you're in countries where Kenya is not known, and I think many Kenyans probably do not know that you would go to a country where nobody knows where the damn Kenya is. And people would tell you, where are you from? And you tell them, I'm from Kenya. And the person thinks and says, oh, the runners.
Yes.
So this is our trademark.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we should build on it. And I think we've not put a lot of resources and effort to building this particular treasure that we have. And now that our soccer and other activities sports activities are building up, we need to invest in that, and we need to show the world who we are and what we are and what kind of quality we have. And I think a very good example was mentioned by Dr. Kanenji. Jamaica is less than 5 million population, but you know it because of its soft power.
Yeah.
And so we should put our best foot forward.
All right. So, Dr. Wakene, don't worry. We will take a break. But when we come back, I'll just quickly get your reflections on devolution. I see your smiles. And then we'll get right into the topic. Ivan Zogada is in the building. He will join us on the other side. Stay tuned.